by enriching the collections of other museums with objects of material culture, and by expanding the study of folklore in colleges and universities, it's possible to extend patronage to folk artists, promote the marketability of their products, and create jobs for folklorists. So the emergence of independent Bangladesh is no wonder. But invisible power of Bengali culture and identity intellection what united us against occupying Pakistan and led us to fight them back strongly through People's War because of having our stronger folkloric heritage. Faculties in our department candidly to ignite their hearts and thoughts to explore their creative minds with the spirit of their war of liberation, what gave us ultimate identity as a proud nation in the world, which is created at the behest of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the greatest Bengali of all ages in the mother planet Earth. Professors, learners, and researchers, let me tell you one thing. Today we are connected with the sacred soil of Kalyani. I greatly remember the soil of India, particularly the soil of Kalyani. Kalyani is the logistic headquarters of Sector 8 during the War of Independence of Bangladesh. Under Kalyani, we had Kushtia, Jessore, Firozpur, Faridpur, and a greater part where we fought against the occupation force bravely with nothing but with the folkloric knowledge. We had not M4, we had not assault rifle, we had not Kalashnikov rifle, we had no ammunition weapons. So how did we fight the occupation force of Pakistan? With the folkloric knowledge. We fought them with our boat, with our rafts. We had sticks, bamboo sticks. We had machete, right? We had other weapons because the Pakistani took away all the things from the East Bengal. They aren't from here and spent there in rifle. We had no ammunition weapons. They aren't from Bangladesh and built Islamabad and Lahore. They buy with the folkloric modern weaponry. We fought them with our boat that they used against us. We had nothing literally. What we had is the folk belief that Bangladesh is ours. We had sticks. We have to save our motherland. So we fought them bravely with sticks, with boats, right? With spice powders. We had other weapons. Because with arrow and bow, the Pakistani took away all the things from the East Bengal and spent there in we had no ammunition weapons. They aren't from Bangladesh and built Islamabad and Lahore. They buy our people's modern weaponry. We fought them with our people's definitely have literally. What we had, the people's is culture belief that Bangladesh is ours. We had sticks. We have bamboo sticks. The folk culture, dargahs, mosques, mandirs, and other places of worship. So such a powerful folklore we have. So there are definitely, and I'm pretty sure a very deep aspect of study. So Bangladesh can give a great insight into the country's social and ethnic background as well as the people's perception and beliefs. Bengali folklore also tells us much about inhabitants of the past, such as their principles, customs, and reasoning on matters. Folklore is the study of our existence and very identity. So, Bengali, as you have. And thus, nowadays, 3 public universities in Bangladesh igniting the invaluable knowledge through this discipline. It's a precious discipline. Folklore is there, where you do have the human existence. Folklore doesn't, stand among the animals. It is not practiced in the beasts. We are a burgeoning state. There are several reasons for this protracted development. Firstly, there is a lack of understanding on the part of other closely related departments in the appreciation of folklore as an academic discipline. Secondly, the Dhaka University, the first ever, the oldest university, the bigger, the highest seat of learning, of course, in the country, is yet to open the Department of Folklore. That's, a point of grief from our end. And finally, the government has so far been unable to create job opportunities for the students studying folklore in Bangladesh. Dan Ben Amos, an American folklorist of international fame, we know his name, we study his name, defined folklore as artistic communication in small groups. This definition, though very short, but has received a wide acclamation in the academic circles. Ben Amos has admirably explained the rationale of this definition in folklore scholarship. Bangladesh is a living museum of folklore. Expressions of folklore, time-honored and hallowed by tradition, from part of our cultural heritage as a whole, our own economic infrastructure, been built on the tradition of our own glorious past. It reflects our food habits, races, and cultural beliefs. To preserve and cherish them freely, we had to struggle for both cultural and political freedom as well. We had to fight for the right of our mother tongue in 1952, all, and for our independence in 1971. The main goal of our continuous struggle was to preserve our own pattern of life. Folklore plays really a leading role in the present. So Bangladesh is enormously rich in folk songs, which are spontaneous outpouring of the simple spirit of smaller, more homogeneous cultural groups. Our folk songs deal with themes pertaining to communal activity, mark the significance of, certain times in the calendar, exemplify the moral code of entire group, and it is shared heritage or bind the life of an individual into the wider life of the community. So of the folk songs particularly mentioned, may be made of, Alka, the Barangasi, Baramasi, the Baul, Bhadu, Bhatiali, Bhawaya, Bolan, Chakta, Dhamali, Dhan Bhanar Gan, of course, Dhan Katar Gan, Gajon, Gajir Gan, Gambhira, and of course, Khetu, Jag, Jari, Khamta, Madar Pirer Gan, Marfati, Murshidi, Sakta, Shari, and Shapure. Those are the treasures. As I said, it's a melting pot of studying, learning the color of life. With the rise of industrialization and increased communication in Bangladesh, pure folk art is really dying out in the face of functional items that are being made available more quickly, cheaply, and with a higher technical standard than the handworker can really compete with. In the study of folk art, it is of utmost importance to compare and contrast objects from different regions. The variation in shape, design, and decoration, if any, represent regional context of folk art. And on a larger scale, these variations indicate different cultural traditions based on the local materials and basic technologies. We are still engaging some people, they are really on the line to connect. So that are useful to the harnessing of those materials. A serious problem we are facing now is that the rapid geographical changes that are taking place in our country. The rural walkways are really changing into roads for flying rapid vehicles, spelling traditional raps, as I said, boats, the carts, and chariots. So rivers are gradually becoming emaciated. It's because of the climate change. It's hurting the culture of folklore. They are losing reserving capacity and flow of water. Moreover, the silt deposit is increasing enormously. Good many small rivers have already faded away. Longer ones are flowing somehow, like Padma, Meghna, Jamuna. Boats with colorful sails are not seen there. They are now driven with engines. Again, we are losing the mangrove forests in the southern Bangladesh because natural disasters. Moreover, Some people are destroying them, ignoring public interests. As a result, the cultural trends of Bano Bibi, Bano Durga, Gajipir, and Dakshina Roy are inevitable to be perished. It's no doubt should be the great concern of the nation, really to us. It's become a matter of national and public importance to analyze and evaluate these changes in the country with a view to conducting research most scientifically on our glorious past, discovering the desired elements from our heritage, collecting and preserving them for facing the challenges of the 21st century and existing as a separate entity of the study of folklore with an academic bias become essential in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, मैं दिल से ये कह सकता हूं कि आपको फोकलोर पढ़ना पड़ेगा, नहीं पढ़ना तो नहीं सीखना। जो कुछ पढ़े सबसे पहले थोड़ा सा फोकलोर पढ़ लें, आपको दिल बड़ा हो जाएगा, प्यार बढ़ जाएगा। If you don't learn folklore, you can love people. If you don't love folklore, you don't love your culture. If you don't love tradition, you are nobody in the society. Because you're taking from the society, but you're not giving back. So आपको वापस देना होगा। जो आपको सीखना आता है वो समाज से, वहां से आपको वापस देना। Otherwise, you are betraying. Otherwise, सही वफादारी नहीं कर रहा है आप। As you know, folklore is studied in many dimensions, थोड़ी बहुत in Bangladesh, but particularly the tribal folklore is not studied vividly. वैसा ज़्यादा replicate, we present the colorful smaller ethnic communities to bring a good value in that total program, in that totality. So for that totality, for the decoration, you need to bring some people from the ethnic communities. Otherwise, you feel that your program, program is not going to be a complete one, because it's a multi-communities country. We have the stronger variety of all the smaller ethnic communities who enriches our culture, our tradition, who give us, a great idea in tribal folklore. I'm very lucky. I spent long 8 years on Khasi community in Bangladesh to understand their life and livelihood, the feeling and belief, rituals, customs. At the same time, I tried to learn how they maintain national life of governance in democracy when they have their, own in the community. They have their own governance system. So they go with both. One is national and one is their community's knowledge. So this community does have their own revenue system, their to govern their punjis, such as contrast learning is perceived in studying this community. So their folklore is something that constructs them who they are actually, and the tribal folklore imbues the national folklore and culture on the other, what they already have expressed. So I'm not, creating definitely intolerance in your time measurement. So let me conclude shortly. So these smaller ethnic communities add up invaluable cultural spirit with any mainstream society, and thus the necessity of studying tribal folklore will always be an important and integral part of our national life equally. All right? So, and thus, to enrich us as a nation, we had to respect, dignify multicultural, and that's why we have to nourish, study, learn, research, and explore all our smaller ethnic communities' identity and all their practices, all their values, all their cultures for our great nation. Indeed. The departments of anthropology of many universities in Bangladesh, as I'm talking about folkloric practice, are studying tribal communities from their socio-cultural perspective, as we know from the cultural anthropology, they are not intended to bring about a particular tribal folklore. It's highly overlooked in their discipline because they're not bound to undergo like we are. But it is us, the folklore teachers, learners, researchers. We have the duty, that the duty would be to bring about that colorful and precious part of life of all these tribal communities. I have already talked about all those slides, so I'm not reading out this slide. So reading from the slide looks like I'm giving a class lecture, so I really try to get out from that trends and to speak to you on your eyes, as you can directly make eye contact with me. We have a strong folkloric and cultural heritage. Our folklore has been largely influenced by various ethnic groups that have in the land throughout the years, which I showed you through the audio-visual picture. As you know, there is a Chinese maxim like one still picture, still photo can tell more than 1,000 words together. I showed you a 10 minutes documentary on a very selective, particular smaller ethnic communities of Khasi, Chakma, Marma, Khiang, Santals, and other communities. But we have left behind all the natural plainlands people who are living here. So it's a glimpse of studying them. It's a glimpse of studying them. May I beg your pardon for So a diversity of elements can therefore be clearly seen in folklore of Bangladesh, which is already shared with you. So what we have, there are many indigenous communities, and each of these communities has its own culture and tradition. Some of them may have even the cultural distinctions within different clans, but some traits are generally common among most tribes. For instance, originally, most tribes had been animists. Currently, the tribal communities are going through many changes in their folkloric life. As I study the Khasi community, the religious conversions are going on, their development organizations, interventions are going on, their practice of animism are changing, their marriage system, their cultural systems are changing, they are adopting the modernized life, apart from the waterfalls or collecting the drinking water from falls. They have had their own drinking water system that they have built. They are with the electricity and using all that modern amenities, like they're taking the facilities of enjoying televisions, all the smartphones and other connectivity. So a lot more interventions, of course, taking place there technologically as well. So what are the insight of folklore? In a minute, let me conclude. In fact, folk culture is a syndrome of aspiration, ambition, sorrow, success, impulse, and unfulfilled desire of the common people. It leads us to develop an intimate bond with the folk society, and this is a unique experience we gain, such as insight experience. On the contrary, refined culture is the product of polish and experience over statement and imagination. Further, the folk culture provides a passionate outlook of the deep roots of our society. So we firmly believe, wherever we are in Bangladesh and the area we are covering academically, that the knowledge of folklore forms, because there are a lot of debate about the nation and sub-nation, aborigines, as they're tribal, and we call them smaller ethnic communities, but we don't define them the indigenous communities. India has got plus 100 scheduled tribes, Definitely we learn from them. While I study the Khasi community, I study the Meghalaya because they're from here. They're the descendant. Kar and Bhoi are here. So you study deeply. While you study, we cannot avoid the people, the Khasi in that part in Meghalaya. So in our study, we cannot omit and ignore the powerful cultural spirit of our smaller ethnic communities in Bangladesh. The way we are studying, we need to study more. The way we are learning, we need to speed up. And the way we are thinking about the smaller ethnic communities, we need to boost it up. And of course, I thank cordially to the generous, eminent, learned Professor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mahashoy, Professor Dr. Manush Kumar Sanyal, to be here, who encouraged us and of course invited me on behalf of the Department of Folklore Study in my university to collaborate with the Department of Folklore in Kulani. As I said, Kulani has a hearty bondage for our liberation. Really made this program a great success. I thank the organizers, and above all, I thank all my veteran professors, and of course, some of the professors joined from Rajshahi University. I'm sorry, I cannot recollect from a good number of thumbnails on my screen. But sir, thank you so much. And of course, Resistor from Guwahati University. I extend my hearty gratitude to you, sir, for being with us. Lastly, Dr. Shujai Kumar Mandal, the eminent chairman, proven chairman of the department. Thank you so much for connecting me with this great initiative. I thank you all. Thank you so much. God bless. Pranam.
Thank you, Dr. Rahman. Actually, we are left with no words after this amazing speech. So let's get into the discussion of Dr. Maqbul Islam.
মকবুল দা জয়েন করতে পারেনি আর কি মানে জয়েন করেছিল, তারপরে সাউন্ড হচ্ছিল না।
He tried several times. I approved him several times, but he's getting some internet problems, some internet issues so far. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
কি করব, আমরা কি ওয়েট করব?
না, ওয়েট করা যাবে না, কারণ টেকনিক্যাল প্রবলেম হচ্ছে আর কি। কারণ জয়েন করে মানে সাউন্ড করতে পারছে না আর কি, যার ফলে ওয়েট করে লাভ নেই। কারোর যদি কোনো কোয়ারিজ থাকে, কারোর যদি কোনো বক্তব্য থাকে, আনমিউট করে বলতে পারে আর কি।
ডক্টর মকবুল ইসলাম কিছু টেকনিক্যাল ইস্যুজের জন্য জয়েন করতে পারছেন না। তো অডিয়েন্সের কাছে আমি রিকোয়েস্ট করছি যে স্পিকারদের কাছে যদি আপনাদের কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে, কোনো জিজ্ঞাসা থাকে, আপনারা সেটা করতে পারেন। চ্যাট বক্সে না করে সরাসরি আনমিউট করে প্রশ্ন করুন স্পিকারদের। প্রশ্ন যদি কারোর না থাকে তাহলে আমরা পরবর্তী মানে পর্যায়ে যাব।
Let me excuse me. I'm sorry for the interaction. Was it audible? My audio visual from
Clearly.
The sharing option?
Yes,
Did you hear that all?
Yes.
Was it a good sound and video?
Yes, it was clearly.
Oh, I see. Thank you. Thank you.
আমার তো মনে
বললি না
হচ্ছে কারণ
তাহলেই।
প্রশ্ন
হ্যাঁ।
নেই, তাই তো?
হুম।
So now we are almost at the end of our webinar. Now
হ্যাঁ,
Professor
হ্যাঁ।
Dr. Ashwin Gangopadhyay will propose the vote of thanks. অসীমদা, অসীমদা, অসীমদা কি জয়েন করতে পারেননি? সুজয় আনমিউট কর, আনমিউট কর।
হ্যাঁ, অসীমদা জয়েন করেছে তো।
অসীমদা, আমি তোমার নাম তো অ্যানাউন্স করেছি টু প্রপোজ দ্য ভোট অফ থ্যাঙ্কস।
অসীমদা,
তুই একবার ফোন করে দেখ।
চেঞ্জ হতো।
সুজয় ফোন করেছিস?
ফোন ধরছেন না তো। আমার মনে হয় তুই কন্টিনিউ কর।
আর কি কন্টিনিউ করব? ভোট অফ থ্যাঙ্কসটা দেবে, তারপর তো আমরা ন্যাশনাল অ্যানথেম বা এগুলো করব।
না, ওই ভোট অফ থ্যাঙ্কসটা তুই
জয় হে, জয় হে, জয় 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 হে। শুভরাত্রি সবাইকে।
অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ।
ধন্যবাদ, অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ। নমস্কার, আবার
নমস্কার।
দেখা হবে। আজকে আমরা অনুষ্ঠান এখানেই শেষ করছি। আমরা খুব দ্রুতই আবার আবার আলোচনা চক্র বা অন্য কোনো অনুষ্ঠানে আবার অংশগ্রহণ করব।